All right. Welcome to Monday night. It is March 2nd. Can you believe that? March already? It's like, where the heck did January and February go? Cannot believe we're March already. So, yeah, big things in the markets today. Pretty crazy. Before we get started, let's make sure my sound is working good today. So let me know if you guys can hear me all right. I can see the red bar moving, so I'm pretty sure it's okay, but always like to check. Spring is in the air. It was 65 today. Yeah, it's 65, but it's starting to rain. So I don't know if it's going to stay 65. Not for too much longer. All right, sounds good. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, I was talking to somebody about that earlier. I was like, yeah. They're like, oh, it's beautiful spring weather. I was like, first off, it's only March. Second off, it's Maryland. It's 65 now, but in 2 weeks we could have a blizzard with 2 feet of snow. So let's not get too excited, right? That's what happens. Um, yeah, so market's good, right? I think today, somebody mentioned it earlier today, that markets were up the largest amount ever, I guess, largest amount ever, um, or biggest increase in the markets ever in one day. So kind of cool, right? Last week we were basically down the most we've ever been down, and then today we're up the most we've ever been up. Um, yeah, basically parabolic retracement into a level, turn and flip. Again, coincides with tomorrow. So those of you that didn't know, again, tomorrow we restart the Nadex webinars. They're actually it's interesting. The guy that is in charge of it now, he is focusing on really creating like a library for people to go back to, and so he's definitely big on to replays and things. So we're gonna do tomorrow's in the middle of the day. Normally we do them obviously at night, but tomorrow we are. It's actually going to be at noon. Actually, I have one next Tuesday. Well, obviously tomorrow, and then in 2 weeks I have one on Thursday afternoon, and that'll be an amended version of the news breakout, coming from the 30-minute trader program. It's something we haven't seen and have had out for a while. So that way it's kind of giving a post news and then a pre news. We're kind of doing it backwards, but that one's a little bit more polished and more kind of up to date with what we're kind of seeing, particularly in the market. So kind of cool stuff. I'm kind of excited to get those back out there. And again, I have some cool ideas about what I want to do for kind of some of the webinars going forward for Nadex. And once we get these two off the ground, we're going to start getting a little bit funky with it. Green screening, maybe a poll here or there. I'm going to see if I can help them kind of take their webinars up to kind of a different kind of level. So it should be fun. But again, tomorrow just seemed to be the perfect time to do that one. So overall today, guys, if you look in the markets, you can see euro dollar back up 70. Again, this thing is it's going in the wrong direction. I thought we were going down towards parity, and man, it's going the opposite direction. I wanted it to go farther in the other direction. So, but again, good day above the ATR. That's good. We always like to see when we have something move more than its ATR is saying it should. Pound dollar, not quite its ATR. It's only about 60, but again, down. Again, we're kind of seeing pound weakness across the board. This is probably the most, again, versus the US dollar. What are you going to do? It's happening. Dollar yen up 24, not a huge amount. Again, less than its ATR. That one is definitely shrinking. It's interesting. We see, I mean, again, even today, looking at this across the board, we have 45, which again is about what the ATR is on that one. Dollar CAD is down 19, then down 6. Again, all these small kind of movements just show you how much more of a trader's market it is. There are definitely times, and again, forex in particular, you can be, buying and holding is not a bad thing. Keeping it for multiple days, you get out of the chop, you don't have to worry about the stuff as much, but when you're having movements that are so small, you have a lot of money sitting out there at risk. And it's just, when the markets are not necessarily moving in one direction or the other, it's not necessarily what you would call an overall trending market. There's plenty of money to be made. It's just on a smaller time frame basis. And some people get very, very scared about that. I am a believer in the exact opposite. I think that's even better than having active live positions on, because if you're not in the market and it crashes, nothing happens to you. You never know what could happen. A tweet, people are definitely much more familiar with what tweets are now. That's why I think it's hysterical. Like, everybody watch, this is probably the most action that, Twitter's ever had for a president. Again, Trump uses it more than anybody else, but like, I guess the two people that are running against him, like, I don't see Joe Biden being a big person on Twitter. I just don't see that working out for him. And Bernie, God only knows. It's like anarchy running on. It's crazy. Funny enough, I had a friend that posted again. This friend's probably a little bit more to the left. I don't know, very liberal Democrat, and I love her to death. But she posted something, and she's like, we had this entire field of diverse candidates. How is it that we end up at the end with an old white guy as the two choices? A white millionaire. So I was like, I don't know. I mean, hey, you got do what you want to do. I don't know, but yeah. And then on my I have a couple Bernie guys like friends that are like, one guy's a big guy. He was actually the guy that I knew a lot of the stuff from the Nevada campaign. He's like all over the Bernie train again. I was like, "You're gonna go for this again?" Because I guess Bernie made a comment about how they're trying to block the DNC is trying to block him again. I was like, "Oh God, here we go, all over again." So it's okay. Russia's not allowed to do it, but your own party's allowed to block you twice. So I guess that's what we have. No idea. Anyway, looking into the numbers again, numbers look good. Pound yen. I'm sorry, euro pound was the big mover today at 96. That's quite a large jump. And again, if we look down into the news today, you'll be able to see kind of some of where this is coming from. There's not as much down here on it anymore, but again, you're seeing the euro rally pretty much against everything right now. And again, last week it was on the weaker side, right? It was on the weaker side. So, not necessarily as surprised. Now, interesting things that I see down here. Again, you guys can see the news today. We had the final manufacturing numbers. Came in slightly less than forecast, but really not that much, which is not bad. ISM manufacturing in the U.S. also was down, but again, still above 50, so it's still showing an expansion. It's not showing a contraction yet. I don't know if you guys saw it last week. I did post it inside of the chat room, but you guys can see last Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, look at this. Look at their manufacturing. It was kind of right around that contraction, or that right down the 50 mark, and everybody expected it to be 45, and this one they expected to be just over. Look at these numbers. Those are horrible, horrible, horrible. Remember, above 50s expansion, below 50s contraction. They expected it to be lower. Horrible, horrible numbers, right? Fast forward to Sunday night, same thing. They expected it to be worse, right? Much, much worse. But yet, going one day forward, again, we're a little bit less, but we're still above that 50 mark. So, be interesting to see. And now, again, this is also something that is new. They mentioned this, I guess, last night they talked about how Aussie's going to change the cash rate. They're going to make it lower. Again, they're going to cut it from 0.75 to 0.5. Now, again, this is one of those things. A lot of people are like, "Oh, is there a big play in that one?" A lot of this has already kind of been factored in a bit. You probably will see a bit of a reaction. Now, remember, this is typically not a parabolic retracement target, just because, again, it is a fundamental change. They are lowering the cash rate down. I mean, the Aussie's been, it's been smacked, 10 different ways to Sunday at this point. I mean, between fires and low demand and now the virus, and if the virus gets worse, it's only worse for them. It's just kind of, it's been bad. So, I mean, yeah, we've been expecting this. Now, with that being said, should we also expect it in New Zealand? And typically that's what we see. We see one, then the other one. But at the same time, look down here, Bank of Canada. We expect to cut this week. It's like, are we getting back into the cutting cycle? Is everybody going back to the tried and true? Let's cut our rates. Let's cut our rates. Let's cut our rates. Let's make it super, super cheap because of our economies are not, kind of doing well. And now we got the coronavirus. The world's going to slow down. Let's get ahead of this and let's just cut all the interest rates down, 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 which is typically great for business. Again, when you have that low borrowing rates, there's a lot more that businesses can do, right? But it's interesting. It's like, man, let's just go right back to that card. But again, it's not like they even raised it to last market crash rates. We're only at 0.75. It wasn't like we were that high. They're running out of room real, real quick. Okay, they may be going to 0.5, but what happens if this thing suddenly gets as bad as some people are saying, right? What if it gets as bad? You only got a little bit more to go before you got nothing left, right? You have nothing, and that's the big problem. When you run out of bullets, you can't protect yourself, right? Them zombies are coming right through and they're going to eat your brain. So, yeah, so that's what we got to look forward to. So tomorrow we have Great Britain Monetary Policy Report hearings. So, again, anytime there's any type of speeches or hearings and things like that, it's definitely something you want to make sure you're aware of. That's going to be at 4:30 tomorrow morning. Then we have the Euro CPI flash estimate, expected to have no change on that. All day tomorrow we have G7 meetings, and again, I think that was down here. Yeah, they're going to go on Tuesday, and they're going to talk about the virus. It's going to be a big discussion. It'll be interesting to see what they say about it. What I find the most interesting about this whole virus thing is it's like, hey, you know what? Somebody comes out with a vaccine or something else for this thing, all this, doomsday planning, it was for nothing. And then I think the markets will go absolutely insane. And again, there's money to be made in this. Um, yeah. So that's what we'll be sitting into. And then tomorrow night we have GDP. Now, again, there is expected to be that rate cut. Actually, that is tonight, right? This is tonight. It said tomorrow, but this is tonight. And then here we have GDP tomorrow. So GDP is going to be interesting. If this GDP number misses, this will definitely move the market. Okay. And again, this is quarter over quarter. This is going to be more this is more wildfire than it is going to be coronavirus. The next GDP quarter over quarter is really where the coronavirus is going to kick in. I expect that number probably be negative right next time. But if we start to see negative here, whew, yeah, it's going to start things rolling. All right. So some pretty interesting stuff going on tomorrow. And again, tonight, obviously, with the rate cut here at 10:30, right after we get off, you'll obviously see some movement on there. But again, it's kind of already baked into the market. You're not going to see probably as much. Now, if they don't do it I mean, they've already basically told us they are going to. So if they for some reason told us and it doesn't, then yeah, market's going to move. If they go to 0.25, market's going to move more than, again, because the market is forecast 0.5 in. So again, you'll have things going, bing bong bong all over the place. If that happens, it'll be like a pinball machine. All right. So and also, it's not just about the rate change here. It's also going to be at the statement. If they make a statement, something along the lines of, this is the first of of 3 hikes this year, or the first of 2 hikes this year, or we'll monitor the situation. If it gets any worse, then, it's kind of one of those things. They always tell you, we're going to do this, but if this happens, then we'll cut again, to try to cover themselves. If you guys remember last year, the central bank made that statement, basically, we will, continue to hold rates unless X, Y, and Z happens. And then the next day, Trump made X, Y, and Z happen, and then they had to cut it. It was kind of like one of those things was a big win for him. So, we'll see. Who knows? The other thing, I don't know if you guys saw it today as well. I thought it was pretty funny. I guess Amazon is running out of hand sanitizer. Okay, Amazon is out of hand sanitizer, but hand sanitizer works for most bacteria, not necessarily viruses. So this is the coronavirus. So big question I have for you guys, and this is your food for thought for the night. If it doesn't work, are we creating super bacteria because of the coronavirus? Because everybody is bathing themselves in hand sanitizer. That's my big question. Um, if the Aussie cut tonight, there's no demand in sight. Yeah, I mean, there'll be a bit of a pop, Ernest, but I think at this point it's kind of just eh. Oh, really? Yeah, they were really excited. I don't know why they're kind of jacked today. My daughter was giving them stuff. Hopefully, my daughter didn't give them something bad. He was like sharing seeds with them and all this other stuff. But now they're quiet. I think they ran out of energy. But it's funny that yours was answering back again. I'm sure they would like that. All right. So with that being said, look at the scanner real quick. All right. So scanner, interesting, is all I'm going to say. Okay. As you guys can see, based off the top here, the pound is obviously losing some oomph, right? Well, what do we got on all the dailies on the pound over here, right? I'm going to start with the pound on the right. Look at this. Downtrend setup, downtrend setup, downtrend setup, downtrend setup, downtrend setup, and sideways down confirmed. Okay, so some big movements, some really negative sentiment. And again, on the 4 hour, 1 hour, it's more or less consolidating, not doing a whole lot. But listen, I mean, that's literally straight across the board, all reds. Look at the Aussie, all reds. Now, again, we've known the Aussie's been all reds, right? But there's a bit of consolidation in this one too. Again, you're seeing downtrend here, consolidation, but you're seeing red across the board, whether it be, down confirmed, down bias, down, anchor break. Again, we have the one anchor break to the downside. The Aussie, for the most part, had a little bit of a pullback. I mean, it obviously would have been beaten up. But again, just like the pound, all red, all red. Okay, so let's jump back over and we'll go back to the beginning again. I know we're jumping all over the place, but looking at the majors, again, dollar CAD, we have some consolidation. Again, it's a Monday, not necessarily surprising. You can see that one was down -15 for the day, nothing crazy. Euro, again, up. That was the big one, up 78, right? That took second place to the euro pound. Again, euro strength, but last week we did have euro weakness. So again, high curve, low curve, middle curve. Again, it's important to understand those things. I don't know for you, though, for those guys that saw the weekly newsletter this week, one of the interesting things, and again, a lot of people just brush the curve off as it's not that important. A lot of things last week that were high curve became middle or low, and a lot of things that were low curve became middle and high last week. There was kind of a complete switch back and forth, and that's what you'll see. And again, that's the type of biases you should be looking for. And again, look at that. Look at the Dow today. Okay, the Dow had gone 2 weeks ago from high curve to what did it do last week? To low curve. And then what did it do today? It went from low to middle. Okay. So it's interesting how those work out. It gives you somewhat of a bias. And then when you, again, it's not a trigger being high curve or low curve because things can stay there. But when you have the appropriate setup, you find, match with supply and demand. It just gives another one of those kind of, weights to the scale, right? Weights to the scale is the best way I can talk about it. All right. But again, a lot of consolidation on the majors. New Zealand dollar, again, consolidating. Again, I expect us to hear some news about a New Zealand cut as well sometime soon. All right. Euro basket, as I mentioned before, kind of more strength. Again, anchor break to the top side. Not surprised there. The Aussie's getting crushed, right? The next couple, you're seeing confirmed, uptrend setup, and then a little bit of down versus the CAD, but it's not super crazy. It's, on the two lower time frames, it is giving us that bluish color. And then Euro Yen is just flat. And again, that's what the Euro Yen does. It just goes into like nothing. But again, the Yen was what was on fire last week. We're seeing it finally slow down. I guess Friday is when it was just insane. What was it? The pound yen was up like 405 pips or something on Friday from start to finish. I mean, just absolutely just insane. But all the yen pairs were just crazy last week. All right. So again, we're seeing it toned down right now, right? It's a little bit exhausted. All right. So, oh, wait, hold on. What did this guy say? I always love to see this one. It says they are highly aligned with the Reserve Bank. Targeted fiscal stimulus will be needed after. Yeah, we'll see. Australia has so many problems right now. It's unbelievable. All right, so let's go over to charts. Okay. For those of you guys as well, again, with the new scanner, if you guys didn't check it out yet, actually this one didn't. Let's see, pull it back. If your scanner is not showing up, it may still be on the side, but it's not showing. Don't forget, the indicator expires. Okay, you do have to download new ones. I think the current one goes till the end of March or the end of April, the one that's up there right now. This gives us an opportunity to make sure that we are always updating the code on it. Make sure if we have any new additions or tweaks or anything that we need to get in there, make sure we do that. So again, all you have to do is go over to the Thinkific site, and there's a whole section on it. Most of you purchase it from there, but some of you purchase it from the old one, and I sent it to you. Just go over there, and you guys are able to download the new ones. Again, we do not change the watermark, but we do change the trend state, and we do change supply and demand. Those are the ones that have the timers in there. Uh-oh, new follow. See, I was having a little fun, guys. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not, but we added some new stuff. I got to figure out how to change that heart out of there. That changed for Valentine's Day. Instead of the shark, I missed the shark, but now we have some new sound in there. So, as I said, download them off the new website. Can I buy another? Yeah, you can buy. Actually, if you watch for a little bit, then yeah, you can buy more tickets. I think they're like 10 pip chips. It takes a little bit of time. But yeah, so let's dive in. Let's start off with Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar, nothing crazy today, down 12. Let's reset the indicator and make sure it gets new data. As you guys can see, again, we were looking for those lows down there in the bottom. Last week, we had that one kind of pop in here. This was one of those gaps that actually didn't work. So I will tell you guys, this was the most challenging weeks for the gaps. You really had to watch it. This was not a set and forget type gap weekend. As you can see, there was actually, and this is one of those ones that it was a little bit kind of like, And some weeks I'll take the top target in this situation. Some weeks I will take the actual gap itself. The rule is basically the gap, but I've taken the top before and it's not hit. Sometimes it does. This time it used the top one. As you guys can see, pull the tool on there. There was your trade setup. There was your entry. There was your 1 to 3 and ended up hitting it dead on. Had you taken this one from the gaps, again, we would have got stopped out on this one. And again, we had 2 losses. One was a no entry, one was front run. Actually, a second one was front run as well. And we had 2 winners. And then obviously the big one was the Euro Aussie. That thing opened up inside, but we only had one actually open up inside of demand. Actually, it was supply, I guess, this week. And then it ended up going all the way on the 1.5. It was a huge runner. So again, still positive the week, but literally the most challenging. It was one of those ones that you had to follow. 2 of them got to 2 to 1 and then turned and rolled back. So again, those are ones that we had banked a little bit on them. We're not holding them the 1 to 3. It's just one of those things at nighttime with low volume. We got to be careful with them. But when we're 2 to 1, we're not going to risk 2 to just make that single. So we end up, locking some in, and they ended up coming back on us. But overall, it was still, they still did still did great. I think we were like plus 22 or plus 23 on gaps, and then plus 133 on the movers. This is one of the ones that, again, taken as a pure gap, we got stopped. Where we are now, again, bit of a pullback on the 30-minute. You guys can see on the daily, again, we pushed all the way down, a little bit of a pullback, and it's pulling over. Question is, what's going to happen next? I mean, when they do that rate cut tonight, is it going to drop? Is it going to tank? And again, the market did push this higher on the news that, hey, listen, there is going to be a rate hike, a rate cut. So that's the big question. Is price artificially going up so that people can sell this thing for more as it drops down? And that may actually be the case. The question is, where do we stop? Where is it going to turn? And the problem is we just don't have anything. Look, even on the weekly, it's been so long since we've been down here, even on a monthly basis. It's been so long. It's one of those things. There's a little bit of risk of us trying to find, hey, where is this bottom going to be? So really all we can do is we can focus on the lower time frames right now, right? And focus on, hey, listen, are we getting, a failure to go lower situation? Are we getting anything down there that we can find to take a long off of? And not so much. I mean, again, we had this short entry earlier today. Again, this happened, let's see. Whoops, not that one. Where are we at? This was early. This is this morning at about 6 o'clock this morning. You guys can see we had that same failure. This is that thing that this is the exact setup that I talked about last week, right? Oops, not that one. There. This is what I talked about, right? Right here. Failure to go higher, come back up, retest the zone, boom, drop. And again, didn't quite get the entry here. Some people may have gotten scared, and you ended up getting out of this thing about 10 o'clock this morning, right? Ended up hitting your 1 to 3. Came back up, small zone, back down again. But there would have been your trade setup on the Aussie. Right now, again, we are stuck kind of in this consolidation pattern. We are sitting in an area of somewhat of demand right now. With news in an hour, that's going to be a rate cut. I expect there to be moving. Don't be surprised if it rate cuts and then it pops up and tries to grab something. Typically we play these on the 4 hour. Unfortunately, on the 4 hour, the only zone we could tag is all the way up here, right? Is up at 65.77. That's about the only thing we could hit up top is right there. And there's your 1 to 3, your 1 to 5 targets. Actually, both of those I don't mind, especially if we spike up in one kind of pop. And again, it's one of those things like, wait a second, why did it go up? You cut rates. Yeah, it's one of those psychological things. If we do pop, looking for a sell here to take this back to the downside. All right. But again, this one has been a fun one to take on the smaller time frames. Looking at Aussie, New Zealand. So let's bring this up, refresh the data on this one. So as you can see on the daily, this one was not at kind of an all-time low. This one had put lows in and then kind of rallied back up again. And the problem with this one, again, Aussie's bad, New Zealand's bad. It's not like either of the two currencies can actually gain any traction. And there will be a rate cut again. There will be some movement in this one, but you can see this one is a bit more choppy on the daily, right? 4 hour, what's it doing? Nada. It's wedged between top and bottom. And it's really been holding here. Again, there was a zone here. It's been holding, right? And it hasn't even made it to either of the two sides. So it's been a little bit harder to get into. As you can see, this is kind of what we're looking at right now. There was one zone set up earlier today. Bit of a pop off of it, but, at the end of the day, we're back to where we started. So really not too much. And again, there's your 30-minute. You can see a smaller zone that we're in right now. And again, word of caution. I mean, yes, we are inside of a demand zone right now. It is a smaller time zone or a time frame. If we didn't have a cash rate cut in an hour, I would say this probably wouldn't be a bad place to take a long off of it. It kind of turned here before. It's pausing to take it long back up. But again, with the rate cut, I expect, on a 30-minute, we'll blow through levels top or down, top or bottom. It doesn't necessarily matter. The teal area, though, is still a valid area for sells. That's 105.08 to 105.18, so a little 10 pip zone. If we do spike up to that, again, that could be worth taking a short off of based off of news. All right. Aussie. So there, this is, again, lows, not like the Aussie New Zealand. This is the Aussie yen. You guys can see last week, there's that Friday candle, that huge Friday candle, okay? On the 4 hour, you can see we put bottoms in, okay? On the hourly, here you go. Here is the 30-minute. All right, so 30-minute, you can see this is one of the ones that we actually got stopped out at break even, okay? We ended up hitting. We went down about 2/3 of the way, and then it kind of turned and rallied back up again. Here's another one. We got two tonight, guys. Welcome, here comes. People are loving it now. They're like, I'm liking the follow button. So you can see we were 2 to 1 in this one. Again, the strategy was fine. We ended up, I think, banking 10 on this one. Typically, again, when we move this far, all I did was drop it down a lower time frame, and you're able to manage it that way. We can pull it back, and you guys can see we pulled up, we came back, we hit it again. We rallied all the way down. It's kind of like, what's it going to do now? And then when it failed to go any lower here, it's like, yep, that's it. Just take it, take it out. It's having problems. And again, grab 10 on this one and be done with it. That's all we could do. Like I said, everyone's not perfect. The Aussie it was so weak. Again, what do we do now? Again, same caution. Again, we're sitting in an area of demand. We have a little bit of supply right above, kind of wedged in. We're not at lows. I want to see how far this one is willing to move. Again, I think this one, I definitely do have a more of a bearish sentiment on this one for the week. I don't see anything good. Like I said, with the Chinese numbers being as low as they are, I mean, they were definitely worse. I think that just goes back to show you that although they say that they're forcing their workers to go back, the purchasing managers aren't buying supplies for them to really use, which means they have them, which means they haven't used them up, which means it's still low, right? When you don't buy supplies, you don't need a whole lot. And we'll see. That rubber banding effect will be pretty interesting, but I still see weakness in this one to the downside. The problem is, again, there's your daily. We got nothing. You got something all the way down here, right? We're currently at 70.41, and the first time I see any areas, and again, this was done on a weekly basis, is down at 66. That's a huge move. So again, we got some space to the downside, so still bearish that pair. Looking across at Aussie CAD. So Aussie CAD, you guys can see here. Let's bring it back up, refresh these zones. You can see another one that is rather low, and you see no colors down here, which means we don't have a whole lot below us, okay? There was that long. We'll take the long off now. That one obviously triggered last week. Again, here was that spike from Friday. Pretty crazy Friday, right? And here's where we were sitting before. Okay, we got the retest, the punch down. So we'll take that one. We'll go over here. There we go. And again, that was in another one of those sequence. Now, this one we did not take anything off of. There's a little bit of a gap, but unfortunately, the gap candle wasn't the best. It didn't move far enough, so it just didn't qualify for anything. And since that time, you can see here's where we opened on Sunday, and here's where we are right now. So it did go up, it did grab some, and then literally just bounced back and forth inside of a small kind of sideways zone. It was about a 50 pip zone back and forth. Not a lot of clean entries. I mean, this is not great. This is okay. This is an okay zone. You could have taken this for a short in here, right? You could have taken a short from that area to the downside, and it would have been okay. You would have just made your 3-to-1, but again, this area had been hit quite a bit. This had gone just slightly higher. Again, Aussie CAD being a bit of an off pair. I think there's a little bit better opportunity over in the dollar, the Aussie dollar pair. Same kind of negative sentiment on this one as well versus the CAD. Looking at the Aussie Swiss, we'll bring this one back up. Aussie Swiss, same thing. You guys can see here, I'm moving it around. There's nothing below us, right? Nothing. And again, this one didn't even pull back to the same amount. Here is your 4-hour. And kind of the same thing, right? We gapped down here. We pulled up. We grabbed some orders. We just missed the entry here on the 4-hour. And then it pulled back down, and we're kind of sitting where we opened up on over there. And you guys can see here's the 1-hour. Here's where we opened gap-wise, right? We came back up. We grabbed things. We pushed down. We bounced. We bounced. We bounced. And we're still sitting that same candle that we opened on Sunday night. Okay, so how much movement do we have? Here's where we are Sunday night. And here's where we are right there. So we are a total of 18 pips difference in 24 hours from when we opened. Actually, more than I guess it's been about 30 hours now. So really not too much, not too much going on here. And again, this was an all right gap. Meets the rules. It did move enough, and we did kind of pull back down, but it didn't get all the way back down to a 3-to-1 target in this case. All right. So that's Aussie. Go across to the Singapore pair, and again, this one is still a 2, and you guys can see this one. This one had a 208 pip down on Friday, and then today up 145, and it's kind of retracing back down. So you can see all the kinds of craziness in this one. This is one of those ones we had. Where did I set this one up off of? This one had the gap, but I don't put it on the list, as you guys know. Singapore always has like I think this week actually, normally it's like an 8 to 9. It had a 15 pip spread this week. So I was like, yeah, we're not taking this. When I drew it, but I don't put it on the sheet because, again, it does not qualify because the spread is just absolutely enormous. And you can see it just came up to the gap, and we're at the same exact gap level. So this is when I just throw them on all my charts just for habit. But it was not when we were taking, like I said, I'm not taking a 15 spread trade on Sunday night in something like this, right? It just doesn't make any sense. It also opened kind of in a weird zone. This was a hard one because I was like, yeah, there's ascending candles there. There's technically a zone there. I'm like, was like, do I really want to go back? Do I want to try to find it? Like, how specific do I want to get in there? It just wasn't worth it. And then again, like I said, I saw the 15 pip spread and I was like, just not worth it. You can see even on the 5 minute, we can't get a really, really clean level. It's in here though. I mean, based off of when we go from 2 to 1, there's where the zone is right there. Let me make sure. Yeah, there you go. You can see it encompasses the entire red and up to the green here. So technically open in a zone, but I'm not going to mess with a 15 pip spread on that one. It just doesn't make any sense. You're basically starting 15 pips down. And if we're only looking to make 20 or 30 in the other direction, it's just too big risk. There's not enough meat on that one. And again, that's the problem with some of the single pro pairs. Right now, again, it only has a 2 pip spread right now. So there's definitely some nice little trades in this thing right now. But again, Sunday night is not the time to trade this one. You can see just so much sideways movement. So that's Aussie. Let's jump over to CAD. Let me see, what did I miss over here? What do the rectangle indicators know and nothing about stocks? I just kind of popped in. If it doesn't explain supply and demand of forex. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Dreb. So basically, supply and demand is just not stocks. It's just not forex. It's in anything. Like everything we buy is based off supply and demand. I'm not a big indicator person. The reason I don't focus on indicators is typically they're always lagging. It takes data, it takes averages, and you find out after the fact, right? So one of the things about supply and demand is when people want something, obviously prices go up. When they don't want it, prices go down, right? Think about, like food, right? You go to the supermarket, right? There's normal prices, and you may look at grapes, right? And be like, yeah, grapes are cool. I like grapes, right? But I'm not spending like $3.99 a pound. That just seems really high for grapes, right? But then you walk in and you see a fancy sign that has, hey, listen, grapes are on sale, and they're 99 cents a pound. And you're like, heck, I like grapes. $1 a pound, that's a lot of grapes for $1. Like I could get full on $1 worth of grapes. So what it is, all it is supply and demand, right? You buy things when they're cheap and you sell them when they're expensive. These are the same thing. So all I do is I'm looking at the way that these candles are formed, right? Inside of a chart, I'm looking at how they're formed and determining whether or not it's on sale or it's overpriced. That's all I'm really doing on these, right? So, and it doesn't matter. It could be a stock, it could be forex, it could be oil, it could be gold, it could be silver, it could be anything like houses, right? Homes, it could be anything. But it's all the same. It's just what vehicle you're using. So you guys can see CAD yen. Man, this thing was a ride last week, and then bam, we had a pop, and we're pulling back a little bit today. So kind of the same thing. The yen has just been absolutely on fire. Now, we had a top pick on this one. We missed the top by a little bit. We kind of got wicked out of the top of this one. It ended up dropping way past our target. It just was a little bit more volatile than what we had set. Our risk was a little bit too tight. And as you guys can see, it made it 2/3 of the way, right? It came back and busted us out and then went all the way back down again. So yeah, this one was one of those ones that was a little tricky to get into. Again, it just took a little bit too much risk out of this one. But hey, nice move, went back where it was supposed to and kind of moved sideways. And again, not every target is going to be the best. And again, that was tiny risk on that one. So where we are now, let's see, put that one back on. You guys can see. I don't know. I mean, these candles aren't bad over here. I mean, nothing in this really screams kind of we have a target right now. Again, uptrend setup, but it's an okay zone. It's all right. I mean, I don't know. It's not bad. 4 hour it opened. It got close. I mean, here are the two 4 hour zones, top and bottom. Again, we have an impulse move. We have the red correction. We have the impulse move again. It did go slightly higher, right? So it is showing us now that it is in somewhat of an uptrend. And there's not a lot until we get up in this range. So really, even on the hourly, little zone right here, and that zone is about 90 pips away, right? Is the first time we really have anything clean to the top side. The ATR on this one is only 86. Okay, and by the way, you guys can see with the indicator back on again, well, look what we ran into. Okay, so we opened inside of a daily zone, and then there was from the open this morning, or from last night, there was a 152 pip kind of rally off that one. So you guys will see this chart. This chart looks very reminiscent of what the Dow chart looks like as well, right? How it slammed all the way down to that demand zone and then flew back out of it. Same idea, same principle, right? So you guys can see this is a pretty big mover. And again, we don't take too many trades off the daily, but again, nice move it. I'm curious to understand how the candles can indicate a good entry point, but if I buy the masterclass, I'm assuming. Oh, I can tell you. I'm all about giving information. Again, the masterclass is really to refine your skills. If you want to go that route, you're more than welcome to, and I try to help my students as much as I can. Basically, what it does is when you look at a candle, so all candles are formed the same exact way, right? These just happen to be Japanese candlesticks, and like one of these candles here. Okay, so in here, what it's showing us is price opened here, closed here, right? The reason I know that is because it's red, right? You see these lines up top and bottom, those are called wicks. It means that the price went as high as this and as low as this. Looking at this kind of here, let me blow it up a little bit for you, right? Looking at something like this, right? I know that price was lower here. Buyers stepped in, and enough buyers stepped in that price shot out of the area. Okay, I'm not looking for little moves like this. I'm looking for moves that pop down like this and pop like this and pop like this. What the actual indicator does is it kind of adds a few it's an algorithm, and it's analyzing how price entered the zone and how price left the zone. There are other zones in here, like there's a zone here, right? There's a zone up here. There are different zones, and there's what's called odds and ends and things like that. But what the candle does is it shows you where buyers and sellers are in the market, right? If there was no such thing, right? Like, so let's look at, like, say this green candle right here. If there were no seller, like if there was nobody willing to sell it, right? And buyers want something, they'll keep raising the price, raising the price, raising the price, raising the price until somebody's willing to sell it. Okay, so when you have something like this, that price goes up and down, and it's just got a little what's called a body, there's a lot of indecision there. There's not a lot of indecision when you see big candles like this, or big candles like this, or the straight up, straight down thing. Okay, big, long body, kind of extended range candles show you that there is big money behind it. Because I'll tell you right now, you and I and anybody else in this channel does not have the ability to buy or sell and have the market jump like this. Okay, this is done by big money. So your goal in becoming a trader is not to try to beat the big banks and institutions and hedge funds. It's literally to beat the retail guy who has no idea what he's doing and he's getting into the markets that thinks he has a fancy, indicator or strategy or something like that, that has no clue what's really happening. You know, that's who you're looking to beat, right? It's kind of like that saying. You ever heard the saying? I don't have to be faster than the bear. I only need to be faster than you. Your goal is not to beat the experts. Your goal is to beat the stupid people that the experts take money on a regular basis, if that makes sense. James moves oil. Yeah, right. James moves oil, and if it doesn't move, then he blows up a oil refinery till it moves. But but you get what I'm saying. All joking aside, what you're doing is you're not trying to beat the market. You're just trying to do the same exact thing that the big people that are manipulating it are doing. That's it. That's all you're doing. You're taking money from the average Joe Schmo, and trust me, you can do more with it in your pocket than the big banks are going to do with it. So that's what we try to attempt to do, and that's what we're doing. We're reading price action and candles and things like that. All right. So as far as CAD yen, again, super, super low on the daily. You guys already know we're sitting inside a demand zone. So we're not really looking to take too many shorts. I'm really kind of see if we can establish, kind of a pullback, and then to see if we start driving forward. Retrace some of last week. Again, if the news is not as bad, or, again, it's spreading everywhere. Looking for some type of a retrace in this one. Okay, and that'd be CAD yen. Looking at CAD Swiss, all you see here, again, that was a 30-minute, but kind of the same idea, right? We had this line that we were saying, hey, listen, if we can break there, that'd be interesting. And again, this is one of those candles you guys know I hate, right? Huge wick up, huge wick down, and a little tiny body smack in the middle, right? On the 4-hour, you can see literally what it was is, oh God, back and forth, kind of in a small range. And then again, on the hourly, kind of the same thing. We're bouncing here, up, down. There's a little tiny bit of a gap, went higher, went right back to the base again, and now we're smack in the middle. So here's where we ended on Friday. There's on this line, right? That's where we ended. That's where we opened, and you can see we're at the same exact spot. So nothing really super exciting with CAD Swiss, and again, kind of a funky pair, 2-pip spread. Better opportunities out there. Okay. Swiss yen. All right, so this was one of those ones. Again, there was your gap. Okay, so this is one of those ones that is just so crazy. All right. I'll zoom in so you guys can see this one. So price started here. Price went all the way up. Price went all the way down, hit its target, and then went all the way back up again, and then just kept going. So talk about a weird open, right? I mean, literally came up, snagged it, went all the way down, snagged it, came all the way back up, and then just kept running. It's like, all right, that was funky, right? That was funky. This is what it looks like in just actual daily candles, right? One big day down, one big day back up again, and then really no movement. So again, successful gap trade, right? Successful gap trade, but just fast. like fast. You had to be quick on this one. But you ended up having about a half hour to be able to get into this trade and get your targets and stuff. So yeah, weird. Weird, weird, weird. So here's your 4 hour. All right. So in the 4 hour, we're kind of close to the top. It's not all the way back up. The fact that we're kind of, I mean, if you drew a line from here down to here, we're kind of smacking that middle area, that no man's land that I don't really like. For this one, I think I'd probably wait till we get back up or to the gap here. Again, that would be the little bit more aggressive target, or the selling area up here. I think, again, that was formed off of the daily. You guys can see it up here. Last time price was there. Again, we dinged it, went all the way down. We got front run, we went all the way down. I think I'm still waiting for that area. And again, that trade for me is still good. I have alerts set on 2 different platforms for it. At 114.37 to 114.66. So again, we were close, but look at this. Boom up, all the way back down again, and now it's kind of pushing sideways. So let's see. I mean, it's, again, 50% between, supply and then demand areas. Let's have it pick a direction, and then we'll jump in. All right, so that's the Swiss pairs. Now the Euro pairs. All right, Euro pairs. Let's start off with Euro Aussie. So here was the Euro Aussie trade, right? That's a 30-minute. We'll go back to here. We'll reset it. So this is what's called a rocket ship, and it went all the way up, pulled all the way back, and now it's making an attempt. So because it was all the way through, and you can see at one point today it did slightly pierce the top of this one, I expect this is going to break and go higher. Okay, so we can either use this zone as our new risk level, or kind of see what we can form to the top side. So dropping lower to time frames, I'll actually just bring it all the way down to 30-minute. This one was basically the trade of the night, right? We open in the gap area, which signifies that, hey, listen, it's time to get short. Okay. As you can see, this price immediately went down, pull back and tag the level, and then continue to push and push and push and push and push before it came all the way back down to grab this. Now, from the open, this one moved 204 pips. If you took it when it left the zone, or potentially when it retested, when it pushed through, it came and retested the level. Again, that one is 175 pips. Okay. This was the setup of the night. Literally, it came back up again. And after that point, it drove through, ended up hitting and pulling back, and then ended up punching through the top. So I'd say this zone is probably dead at this point. Like I said, I mean, we've hit it here. We opened it a little bit higher. We pushed and pushed it back down, and then drove all the way to the top and got turned around at the very, very last minute. And now we're kind of, again, we based, and now we're pushing into it. So I think this level is more or less cooked. I'd probably use it to the top side, see if we can get a little bit of a zone to kind of form, and go from there. But again, this was the trade from whether here down, right? You could have taken it to either one, but here down would have been number one, or if you took the other entry, whoops, you could have taken it from that level down as well. And again, that's 175 pips. So that was a Sunday night. That was my favorite trade from Sunday night. I just want to make sure that we got out there. Right now, again, probably nothing in this one. And again, with Australia doing that rate cut in 45 minutes, probably best to walk past this one right now, particularly where we're at. But again, very, very high on the curve, sitting up in kind of an area of demand, just something to kind of keep a mental note of, that we are sitting high, right? Now, look at this guy. Boom. Another one straight up. But again, we were waiting for the zone up top. I still think this zone up here at 150.28 is probably the best entry. You can see this today was like, I mean, look at this. Up, down, and it opened exactly, just slightly lower, right? Just slightly lower to give us that red of really no movement, right? Here you go, looking at the 4 hour. Okay. And again, kind of signifies what happened, right? We pushed down, we pushed up, and we're kind of at the same kind of level from where we went. Now, we are close on a 4 hour here. And if you guys look down here on the hourly, I don't think, let's see. Now, we just had that one piece here that was violated. And again, now it's bouncing off in the other direction. Again, that was, again, this was kind of where the gap was, right? You guys will see it here. You guys see there? That's where we opened up inside of the gap. Now, there's a zone there. It's right above where kind of the price ended. This one was, again, I wouldn't have used this zone. I would have used this higher. So what I would have done is, instead of taking the wick over wick here, this one you should have taken at the top and the top of the green body. Okay, so there was really your setup. Here was your risk level, right? Oops, not that. It would go there, right? And you can see we ended up going right off your 1 to 3, and again, which makes sense. That one was in an okay spot. and it rallied back up again. So again, that was a another Sunday night trade setup, very similar, but I don't really see too much at this point where I'm like, hey, I love this one. This one is good. We got to trade this one. Um, I'm still waiting for it to get a little bit higher. So a little bit of patience in EuroCAD right now is I think what we need. Euro Swiss, we go back up at the dollar. Now again, you can see this one. This one is pushing lower and lower and lower. The Swiss has done pretty well, right? We've seen a little bit of a pullback, right? But not, not craziness. On the 4 hour, you can see that we keep bouncing off these two levels, right? We spiked here and they came back down and pushed lower, and then it's hit it again and it spiked back down again. So yeah, those two levels sitting up here around what 107.03 have been pretty good, right? Not too bad. And like I said, there was two different entries into these. Oh, you know what? Let me just do this. I'll do that one so we can see it on the lower time frames, and you can see on the hourly, right? There was the tag, went all the way down, came back up, tagged it again, and went all the way again. So there was two separate entries on this one today on the Euro Swiss. Swiss, I would say, is pretty resilient on this one. I mean, it wasn't a ton of movement, but this is the exact definition of a trader's market. And you guys can see higher level zone, literally just spike in all the way down. You're out in what? I mean, you basically got less than an hour basically, and then 2 hours you were all the way down at the bottom target. And then again, second one took a little bit longer. Actually, here's your 1 to 3. That was about an hour and a half later. And then again, another hour after that, or 2 hours after that, you would have hit your second 1 to 5. So a lot of back and forth in that one. And again, 4 hour levels, so you got to be a fan of it, particularly when it's higher on the curve like this, not in the middle, but kind of at one of the higher peaks. Not too bad. So again, we are pulled away right now. The reaction this one has had, I mean, yes, we've hit this zone twice, but it's barely, again, even look at the lower time frames, it's barely made even a dent into this, even on the lower time frame. I'd say we're probably good for one more shot. I don't think I'd hesitate if it went back up there. Again, it's showing us that there's some supply in front of it. I think this zone's probably good for one more. So that one's bracketed off at 107.03 to 107.13. Only 10 pips, right? Not a big kind of risk level on that one at all. Now, to the downside, again, this zone has been hit. It's not necessarily fresh. It started back here. It hit. It did have great movement off of it. But, some of that had to do with, what was going on with today. So, I think I'd probably wait till we get a bit lower on that one. You can see here on the 30-minute. Again, it's been a bunch of time there. Nice bounce, but again, it's kind of in the middle between the ranges here. I prefer to go to the lower range, but at this point, again, after the move that the Euros had today, I think we'll probably do more for this thing that kind of popped back down again. So I'd be holding that one, looking for that one to get short. Euro pound, again, up 103. Bam. This one had a huge move, right? Huge move. I mean, literally since last week, this one has been going straight up. And again, what was there in here to really stop it? Answer is not really a whole lot. We're sitting in an area right now where we did expect us to have some kind of a kickback on us. It is slowing in this area. And again, looking back, you can see this kind of push, base sideways, and then collapse. So it's pushing. I mean, if we were to kind of start rallying back again, then again, obviously the indicator would draw a zone up here. We'd get something along. And again, I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen, but if we do start to kind of pull back, we will probably get a zone here. Again, if we get a pullback down, that would become our risk level. Take this thing short back to the downside. Like I said, quite a lot of movement in this one to the top. I feel like we are due for some type of a retracement. As you can see on the hourly, it is definitely slowing down. It's definitely putting in, kind of lower highs in here. We haven't put any lower lows in yet. And again, 30 minutes stretches out a little bit more. Again, you can see we're, bump a little bit higher, about the same. And then again, this looks like it's going to be a lower one. So it looks like it wants to turn and flip. Just don't have necessarily the best, we don't really necessarily have a great, kind of takeoff point on that one. Okay. Like I said, if we can get a couple more days, I'd be looking to take this short. The way that this thing just launched itself off of that zone, definitely like that one. And again, here's that zone we talked about last week on the daily, guys. What did it do? It held firm, came up, and what did it do? It pulled back, it retested, and then launched off of it. So again, valid zone down there to to get into this one. Okay. It did not, unfortunately, open inside of a zone. Right. Your 30-minute. Yeah. You guys see not really anything standing out gap wise. All right. So looking for a potential short there as well. Euro yen. We saw euro yen did basically not a whole lot. Um, this is what we have. Big up, down, up, and it just kind of stuck. So we haven't really moved necessarily as far as kind of start to finish, but obviously a lot of movement during the day. And this is what that kind of looked like. Okay, so you guys can see there was a gap here, right? We hit the gap, we continued to push, 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 push. Came back up, grabbed that same gap again, and then continued to push rather far down. It wasn't really necessarily a great zone to kind of hit yourself on a target on the bottom, though. And here's what it looked like on the lower time frames, right? Again, it keeps making lower, 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 lower levels. But again, here was that gap, right? And that gap was here to here, right? I'll draw the lines. There's the bottom. There's the top. And you can see we hit, boom. We came back up. We hit, boom again. So that gap is putting in some work, is all I got to say. I don't think that that gap will hold much longer, though. Again, this is starting to form some demand below. Again, the indicator drew this as a high quality level based off of how it entered and how it exited that area, and you can see that was a pretty rock solid level in here, right? You just tagged your 1 to 5 about an hour ago. Okay, not too bad, right, for something that really didn't have a whole lot of movement that was showing us consolidation across the board. It's not that it didn't move; it's just that it had a big move down and a big move back up again. Again, wiped everything out. So as a swing trader, you're like, oh, my position didn't move at all today. But meanwhile, the day trader is like, woo, I wrote this down, I wrote it up, made some money off of it. Yeah. All right, so that's where we're sitting right now with Euro Yen. Looking at Euro New Zealand. Okay. Euro New Zealand, you guys can see this is more or less flatlined. Now, this one pushed all the way up on the daily, and you can see we ended up hitting the zone and pulling back from that supply zone, and then it pushed back up again. So it went in and came back, and then went all the way down and came back again, and then just kind of stopped, right? So, again, you guys can see it. We were here right below it. We gapped up. We came down. We touched the gap, and then we continue to push forward. Here is it on a 1 hour. Okay. And you can see that there's on a 30-minute. Okay. Now, this is one of those ones you got to be a little hesitant with, right? Let's pull this off. So pull these back. Okay. Here is your 30-minute gap candle. And you guys can see there is your touch. Oops. Okay. So again, another one of the ones that worked out. Again, it gapped very, very high. This one was a little bit riskier. Why? Because again, we were on that, in that supply zone on the daily. But again, it got enough movement, push, 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 tagged up, 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 up. Was able to make this one, and again, you were able to grab 11 pips out of this one. Now, this is another one that I don't think I did. This is one of the other ones that I did not include this week because this one also had quite a high spread. This one normally is in, this was enough time for this one to kind of whittle its spread back down again. But this was another one of those ones that was a 14 pip spread when it opened. And I was kind of like, I'm not going to post it. It just, it was just a bit too big. And I forgot to come back to it later on in the evening and see what the spread had gotten down to before I went to sleep. I ended up getting tired. I was playing around with the kids, and then I got on the computer and was messing around. So didn't come back to it. So again, this was my bad for not including this. This would have been a great trade setup as well. But again, same strategy. It's just, no different. And the only caution on this one that we had was, again, we were opening up here. But you guys can see this is much, much lower. It wasn't. All right. This one. We down to 107.76. I was like, yeah, here comes 105. 105 will be great. And then all of a sudden, this thing grew some legs. And saw this one. Yeah, we had a little bit of a base here. Yeah, from last week, this is what we had. We just had this layer right here where it just couldn't go lower. And then it started putting these like progressive steps in. But getting into this one to go long, there wasn't really necessarily a whole lot of conviction. We're like, that looks awesome. I love that zone. It was just kind of funky, right? Like it just grind. The only great entry we had was here, and we talked about this last week, where we had this kind of wick over wick where it went up, based, and then came down to touch it. But besides that, this has been a hard one to get into. Hourly, it's kind of like, I mean, this is that piece, but I mean, there's the 4 hour. I mean, there hasn't been a lot, right? So again, good day. This one's getting pretty high. And again, remember I mentioned this before in a couple of the other pairs. We are getting in areas of supply. This one happens to be on the daily. And again, daily supply zones are pretty good. This one pushed out of the zone, got itself drawn on the indicator, and then it came back and retested that zone. And then that is what initiated this entire drop to the downside. So starting up here, and again, it may be slightly off on your platform, but 111.98 is where that supply zone starts to kick in. Now, I would hate if we start to go back down again. I'm going to be mad. I was waiting for this to go just a little bit farther. I did not get triggered in the short. It got close. But it got front run and then pushed back to the downside. So it's kind of like, come on, just go a little bit farther. I want to get triggered on this one. If we do get up, I do think we will start to roll this thing back over to the downside. But again, that happens. Sometimes we miss entries and we get front run. It happens. But I am definitely looking for this one to go just a bit higher and then roll and flip on us. Okay. And then Euro Singapore, you can see Euro Singapore, kind of the same thing, that whole kind of rocket ship thing. We are in this level right now. It is kind of in the middle of the zone, but we are a bit in the middle. And again, nothing on the 4 hour, and that's kind of the problem. We need to go a bit higher. So what I would do on this one is I would use the failure to go higher, failure to go lower mentality on this one. If we get, a nice little kind of stoppage, pullback, and then a retest of an area, I think that's about the only way we can safely get into this one. Again, the spread on this one is fluctuating between 1.5 and 2. We're at 2 right now. It was just showing us 1. Remember, the indicator, it just rounds up. It just makes it easier to tell us how many pips, not the fractions, just to keep it simple. And again, we go between 1 and 2 all the time on this one. So not bad, right? Again, Singapore seems like, obviously it got beat up pretty bad. But again, here was the initial push, initial pullback, and then initial push again, and we're sitting in an area of sellers. So I think there could be something maybe tomorrow on that one. I think there's some better opportunities right now. Looking across at the pound. All right. This one's straight down. Here, tile windows. All right, so pound yen. Here's the daily pound yen, right? We are pushing back, and where do we open? Kind of in an area of basing, right? There's the very, very top. So it opened in an area of basing, and it's kind of like, where do we go from here, right? And it actually popped. It actually did pretty well. Price ended up coming up, and again, this is where it opened, went all the way back up, and then continued to push sideways. So this one was obviously drawn over here. This is one of the ones that actually got stopped out. Right. Again, I think with the most we've ever had, I think this is the worst week we've ever had as far as stop outs. We had 2 different positions stop out. And typically we only take about 6 to 10 risk. All the risk was bigger this week. So this trade right here is the biggest loss in pips that we've ever taken on the gap report since the middle of December. Right. And again, big pair, pretty volatile. This was a 30 pip loss. Right. A 30 pip loss, which is not the end of the world because the other trade made 133. But it's just one of those things. It pulled up, it rallied. It came in, it pulled back slightly, and then punched it and used that zone as kind of a takeoff tool. Right now, it's not much different from where it opened, but that's what can happen. This pair is one of those ones that it just plays by its own rules. And again, I'm going to say it right now. No strategy is going to be right 100% of the time. Okay? Again, we take small risk, and in this case, the risk to reward ratio made sense. Again, it was more than we normally like to take, but obviously with everything going with the coronavirus, particularly over the weekend, new death reports, everything, obviously that is what drove this kind of Friday candle to be much bigger than it actually was. The other difference with this one is I didn't really have the option to take something higher. There really wasn't much up here, so I really couldn't pick a target slightly above. I would have liked to get in less, but even on a 30-minute, this was about, again, 30 pip risk. It was like, we'll take it because that's what the rules say. You can't look at one trade and say, hey, I'm going to do it on this one, but I'm not doing it on the next one. You have to remain consistent across everything. Now, what would be the difference on this one versus another one? Well, that's pretty simple. Remember, guys, yeah, there was 30 pip risk, But if we position size ourselves correctly, it's the same amount of risk versus one of the other trades. So it does look like it's bigger, but you're taking a smaller position size. So the risk is exactly the same, even though it's more pips, same money amount. Okay, because some people see this like, oh my god, that's a lot. Okay, yeah, the report is based off of pips, but again, still a positive week by quite a large amount. But again, the dollar amount you would have lost in this one is really not a big deal. All right. So that's where we are right now with this one. Looking on the 4 hour, like I said, we had a bit of a pullback. Hourly is kind of what we'll look at right now. Again, we had all that kind of sideways movement. Here's where we are on the daily. Okay, the daily we are still kind of we're stuck in the range. Like we are in the middle between this kind of top and bottom on the daily, and that's kind of like that's kind of what I'm focused on. It's like yeah, it's like I like this. I like the big red candle. I'd like it to be down here because then I'm definitely looking to get long. Right? If we go up top, I'm definitely getting to go short. Again, that's on a weekly basis. On the daily, you can kind of see they're a little bit closer, right? Nice pop here, nice pop here. We've already seen it tested. We're sitting in the middle. Go up or go down, do something. I don't know, maybe it's a bad day to shoot this thing back down again. I'd be all in for that. But I'd like to see some either way. And like I said, 4 hour, not really a lot of excitement, right? We opened here, pop all the way back down, and then we're kind of halfway, kind of stuck in the middle with wicks on top. So pound yen, unfortunately, not too much. Pound CAD, all right? So pound CAD actually just went into a demand zone on the daily. And again, we did have a bit of a pop. It is now about 50 pips out of that zone. I don't think you can see that on the 4 hour. Yeah, you can see the small one on the 4 hour. So you can see we touched it on the 4 hour again. 4 hour zones and 30-minute zones are my two favorites. I'll use the daily as far as looking for big levels, but I mean, this is not a bad little kind of setup here. Again, pushed all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. Now, again, a lot of people will be using this as a target because, again, we had the big flip here. But the last time again, we spent some time, it came back up, it did retest and push out. Again, not horrible risk in there, but again, sometimes we do have to take those counter trend trades. They're not always going to be in the direction of the trend, and that's kind of what we were given on this one as a 4 hour zone. You can see here it's rallied up and it's moved. We haven't quite hit our full profit target yet. It's still on its way, right? So at this point, we are you're up enough. You're not taking any risk in this trade. You've already locked in some profit, probably up in this area. You would have drug your stop loss into about there, right? That's probably about where you have it right now. So worst case scenario, you end up making that amount on it. Again, you're not gonna go for this last risk this shoot for this last little bit here. Like this is the worst thing you can do. You're not gonna risk this and give up all of this, right? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. So you gotta have something locked into it at this point. So that's where we are with pound Aussie. Let's go down here to pound dollar. So pound dollar, I was watching earlier today. So this one, we had that big push down, and then it kind of stopped. This one was actually pretty boring to watch today, and you guys can see over here, it's kind of like, not too bad. This was another one, I'll drop it down to the 30-minute. This was another one that had kind of a funky little gap, right? This one pushed all the way up, came down, and then flatlined and just stopped. So, I mean, once you kind of stop here, it can't go lower, it can't really go higher. You need to get out. So this was one of those ones that it was kind of basically a break even. You didn't get anything out of it. You were positive. Again, you would have protected yourself and then just kind of just died on us. So move that out of the way. Now, after that is where things kind of got a little bit funky, right? So earlier today, I was looking at this and I'm like, my God, it's just literally going back and forth in the same area. Like, what is it doing? And we're talking about a 20 pip range, right? Down, up, but it was weird. I was like, my God, will this thing do something today? Like, I was just so bored with it. And even when it pushed up, it didn't even make it to levels of supply. And when it pushed down, it was kind of putting new lows in, but I knew that we had this sitting here, right? I knew that we had this level sitting right here, right? And that's what it didn't go, hit. So it's kind of like, couldn't really get into anything short. And at the same time, I was kind of like, I mean, I could take a long, but I don't know. I mean, it's hit here, went deeper here, hit again here. I mean, we're going into number 4 right now. So if anything, I'd imagine, and again, this is on a 15-minute. We're starting to get small. Not a bad candle, but when you're going to lower and lower and lower time frames, trying to find ideal situations, it's kind of you got to question, am I forcing it? And everything else was moving. Like I said, I mean, euro was up. Euro pound was getting slammed. This one at that time, I think was only I think it was down like 30 or something like that, 20 or 30. It wasn't there. So yeah, we need some movement, and this kind of what I felt like. This is what I was going through when I'm looking at it. I'm looking at this going, where the heck did the trend go? Why is it not moving? All right. So pound Aussie. All right. So on the daily, okay, you guys can see very, very high on the curve, but we're not quite up to a daily zone yet. We did push higher, so we can't use a failure to go higher situation here. It did push higher in this case. Your 4 hour is looking like this, though. Okay, so the 4 hour has put a zone in. It did drive all the way down here and then drive all the way back to the 4 hour and then just collapsed. So this was a trade setup you could have taken. Okay, and again, this one just hit its 1 to 5 and went pretty far on this one. Again, this is the Aussie just being super, super weak again. And then it's pulled up and it has kind of stopped now. Okay. Dropping a little bit lower because, again, news is coming out. As you can see on the hourly, okay, here's kind of the range back and forth, right? The range is about 112 pips top to bottom. So you can see the risk level is quite large on these. Again, that's what you're going to get with the pound Aussie. It's got a spread of 2 and that actually jumps higher than that. Kind of like, oh, it's already starting to move. Is that because of the news? What's causing that, right? So it's already starting to go. And again, the 30 minutes not as clean, but you can see we're kind of wedged between a rock and a hard place. And if you're looking to get your 1 to 3 in, it's sitting right at the top, right? So the 1 to 3 is not in a bad spot. Taking a short off of that one, and again, we just left that level. This would be one of those ones. I wish we had this one in Nadex because, again, with a rate cut in 22 minutes, this could punch right through the bottom. This would be one of those ones I put an alert for to say, hey, did that come through? Did that punch the bottom? Now, I would not take this one off the bottom side, and here's why. Whoops. I got to click the actual zone. This one, the 1 to 3 is above because this is a bigger zone. So because it is above this kind of turning point here, if this didn't happen, this is not bad. I'd be okay with where this profit target is. The fact that we have a basing level and the indicator actually drew a zone there, it's a bit far from the top side. So for me, I think we can take this top side, but that's about it. Okay, so it'll be interesting. I want to see if it hits the bottom of this one. I didn't get in this one. I was actually driving back from my mom's house, so didn't get into this one in time. But up about 30 on that one. Here's the pound Singapore. You can see pound Singapore last week pounded off that top, and we are continuing to push the downside. Getting close to a 4 hour zone though. We are getting into an area here that's been tested. It pushed up, came back down, pushed up, came back down, and continued to push away. So definitely looking for some buyers to step in. Depending on the time of day, this is a trade that I've actually have been kind of messing around with. I do like the way, again, the zone was hit twice, but I do like the test off this zone. I'm going to see what time it actually gets in. I do have a trigger in for this one, or an alert, I guess, actually, not an order yet. 176.65, I think is going to be interesting to watch. Like I said, I like these Singapore pairs. They've been going off the high quality levels. Again, this daily was rock solid. You can see we tagged this daily and it just collapsed. So definitely something there. Again, this 4 hour one, this would be setting up for something along those lines. 1 to 3 is fine, and I'm actually pretty okay with the 1 to 5 as well on that one. It's 176.66 to 16 or 176.30. So about a 30 pip zone on that one. So again, position size yourself accordingly. Pound Swiss. So pound Swiss close to a daily demand zone. We're stopping before, which I don't like, but it's getting close. This is not a bad zone. It did pull back. If you look to the left, there's not really anything over there. It went up one green candle based and then launched itself. Basically 3 out of 4 candles straight up in the air. So that's a pretty nice move. Dropping down to the 4 hour. You can see it also was enough to draw a 4 hour zone, and we're really, really close. So again, in this one, you'd be setting yourself an alert for it. Can't see it over there. We'll go ahead and put the zone there, and on the 1 hour gives a little bit better of an idea. Yeah, this spent a lot of time here, not worried. The 1 to 3, you're fine. The 1 to 5 is on the other side of a demand zone or a supply zone. So I don't know. I'd probably only hold this one for the 1 to 3. I don't think I'd push it for the 1 to 5. Obviously, we're not going to see any levels on lower time frames, but not a bad. Let's see. Yeah, it's not bad. It popped, it based sideways, and then exploded out of that zone with this green right here. Not a bad zone. Again, on the 4 hour, and I don't think the risk is too big. It's a little bit big. Let's see. See this going backwards. Let's see. Unfortunately. Not really. Nope. And look, that's the exact zone right there. I drew it back there, and that's exactly how it painted. So, yeah, you're gonna have to take bigger risk on that one. That may be too big. It's about 50 pips. That may be too big for some people. And again, it's on the higher time frames, and yeah, it's a 50 pip zone on the this one. Now, but remember though, this one has 106 ATR, so maybe a bit big. Like I said, it is based off of this zone, so you guys can see how it's bracketing off on the upper time. If anything, I would have preferred if we opened there. I think that would have been better trades. Pound Swiss, there's something, but it's a little funky. Let's see. Here's the New Zealand. Okay, again, we keep banging. We hit it once, we went lower, we went higher, got pushed back again, and now it's kind of sitting here. Right, I mean, again, on the daily, we don't know if we're going to continue to push through on that one to the top side, but not horrible as far as, kind of levels, right? Being way up there, again, we've punched forward, and now we formed a top and a bottom. Now, this bottom, I'm pretty sure, is going to be blown up. Technically, I would have blown this one up already, but that's where we're kind of wedged in between. With the Aussie rate cut, I wouldn't be surprised if this one also pops. Again, it's showing Aussie weakness, that will probably give us New Zealand weakness. Wouldn't be surprised if this one kind of pushes itself a bit higher. And you can see this one has got a lot of kind of weird levels, right? One here, one here, one here. A lot, right? There's a lot of green on this one showing this. There's been a lot of pops higher. So I'm not necessarily super fan of this guy. Okay. But look at this. Look at this bottom zone. Front run, hit, 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 front run. So been a pretty good level, but we're probably due for a bit of a failure. But again, Aussie news bad. Look for the pound to pop on this one as well. Okay. Let's go down and look at the New Zealand pairs. So New Zealand pairs again in 17 minutes. I expect we'll see some movement. CAD Swiss, where are we at? Way down here. On the weekly, you can see candles do move here, but unfortunately, every time frame, this candle basically looks the same. It's just a spike up and down, so it's really hard to draw much analysis from it. Until we do put a bottom and get some type of a basing level in, this one is just going to be hard to do. 4 hour, you can see we kind of came down. We went just slightly higher than the gap, but not enough movement for us to take a gap play. And literally, it pulled up, pulled back, and is now just based for the last 12 hours. Even on the hourly, you can see here. Okay. Went slightly higher than the gap, and there just wasn't enough movement here. There was about 30 pips total. And again, it spent a lot of time up there. And actually, it did end up hitting here. I guess it was one. This one also had a pretty crazy ATR this week. And again, this is one of those ones that, well, you know what? I'll do it this way. So you got about 2/3 of the way, and then it turned back and flipped on you, busted the top, and then came back down and really got stuck at that demand zone at the bottom. So this would have been another one. Probably made a few pips off this one. Nothing crazy. Definitely didn't lose money on it. But that's about it. And again, right now, it's basically just flatlined. It really doesn't have a whole lot going for it. New Zealand CAD, kind of the same idea. We had that zone. We got front run on it. Let's load some more data in. Wanted to open up a little bit lower, right, this week, and just didn't get there, right? You guys can see we had the one zone here. We missed it. It formed the basic level, dropped. Again, this one dropped again. That was into the new week. We came back up. We didn't get up as high. It got front run again, pushed lower. Now we have lower highs putting in, and we have higher lows. So it is consolidating in, looking for some type of an explosion out, but no real levels in here that I'm like, yeah, that one's great. Not too much of screaming, good. That's kind of what we got right now. All right. And the big problem with this one is I don't know where we're real close, right? We're real close. Let's do this. It's the same line. So yeah, that we're real close to a demand zone lower here. So I know it looks like we're pushing down, and there are some levels in here and some zones. You guys can see it there. There's some zones. We're right here. Okay, that's where I expect buyers to be stepping in at. So just be cautious there. New Zealand yen. Okay, so this was a zone we've had marked off for I don't even know how many weeks. We were real close last week when we pulled away from it. We opened in the zone and then rallied off of it. As you guys can see, this is another one of those ones that was a pretty nice kind of push, right? Right there. And you can see we drove right up to it. We're pretty close now. This one moved about 140 pips off the open. Again, it's a zone we've been talking about. We mentioned it last week on last Thursday. We said, hey, listen, if we can get down there, right? If we can get down there and open in that zone by Sunday, like Sunday night, if we open there, that's a great long trade. That's exactly what happened, right? We actually opened inside of the zone and again rallied all the way back up again. And we mentioned this last week that we had this level here. We wanted to be very, very cautious with this level and maybe move our 1 to 3 up just slightly, right? Because it's just a little bit far into that zone. And you can see it just missed the 1 to 3, pulled back up and went a little tiny bit higher and probably missed it by a few pips. It'd probably be safe to kind of, again, get yourself out of this thing, be trailing this thing super, super tight. Looking at it on the 1 hour, you guys can see here, look at this. Pushed up and just missed it. And again, looking at this time frame, we would have put our stop loss here. You would have had your stop or your profit target right at that level. Why? Because there's your level of basing and it popped out. So again, you would have gotten touched here. From Thursday night on this one, 139 points. There you go, 140 pips. You would have taken out of this one on profit based off of our discussion on Thursday night. All right, and again, this is why it's so important, guys. Like I said, I don't spend a lot of time on the higher time frames, but finding things like this, and actually, was this a weekly level we marked off originally? No, it's a daily level, but we've had it marked off forever, saying, hey, listen, we've already hit it once. If we can open there Sunday night, bam, that's your money trade, and that's exactly what happened. All right, it only takes a couple seconds to be able to check these things out. So going into tomorrow, like I said, there's a zone right where we're at right now. If anything, I'm probably a little bit more bearish. We'll see what goes. And then this guy, did I do this one? Probably not. All right, so we got a bunch of things here talking about, okay, where's this one to go? Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? And it really, both these kind of got invalidated. It went down and back up and then down. It really didn't kind of give us the black space that we wanted in either direction, right? We were hoping we'd get something, but we really didn't. Now, based off the gap area, you guys can see here, I'll drop it down to a 30-minute. This one had a kind of a similar situation. Went 2/3 of the way, almost all the way, probably 75, 85% of the way before it turned and started to pull back again. So again, had you entered this one, I tend not to put too many of the New Zealand dollars on the Sunday night gaps. Again, this was you were up. This was giving you what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. So up till 10 p.m. Eastern time, the spread would have come down on this one. This one was also a little bit higher. Again, the risk on this one was about 9 pips, and at its peak, it moved about 21. So not quite 3 to 1, as I said. You got about 80% of the way through there, and it turned and flipped on you. So we definitely would have not lost any money. If you guys can see this one, right? We needed this to go that much farther, right? We are not going to risk this much, right, for that little tiny amount. So that's why you're moving your stop down with it. And again, you can do you can trail it or you can do it manually. I typically tend to do it manually if I'm sitting there with it. But again, that would have been this guy. Besides that, I don't really have a whole lot on this one. Just too much sideways movement for me at this moment in time. So let's go to the dollar pairs. Let's see. Dollar yen in the last 24 hours is down 22 pips. I guess we'll start. Let's start on dollar yen first. So on the daily, this is what we had last week. Again, looks very similar to the Dow, right? Came all the way down. Yep, this one got front run. This one got front run. You guys can see it right here. We were so close. It opened here. It was kind of the one I was like, oh God, open down here. And we missed it by just a little bit. Look at that. Look how close we missed it. And it just kind of, it pushed. Actually, wait, hold on. That one we had, this is the one we were looking for the downside, actually. Hold on. This one we had a bottom side entry. Where was it? Where was our bottom side entry on this one? Hold on. I had a bottom side entry on this one. Where is it? I'm not going to find it now. Yeah, we're here. So yeah, this is not, it was the other one that I was thinking of, not this one. Yeah, so we pushed down and then we opened rather close and then bumped. So it turned here, not really the best turn. I was waiting for this one to get a bit lower and we were unable to get it. On the 4 hour, you can see it is sitting a bit lower down here as well. Yeah, so this is the other one that we got front run on. This one didn't quite go as far, and again, I was talking about this one on the daily. But again, very reminiscent of what we saw for the outright. Up, 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 bam, just kind of got slammed down last week. And actually, with other people starting to cut rates in that rate cycle, I do see that bringing the U.S. a bit more strength because I don't feel that our economy yet is talking about cutting. They're mentioning it and they're talking about what they need to do, but we haven't quite seen the numbers justify it yet. And again, once the numbers justify it, they may look at it, but then by the time they finally get the data to show that it's going down again, it may already be past. So I think it's going to boil back down to the severity and how long this thing tends to stay around. So, we'll see. We're getting close. Like I said, I'm still kind of keeping my eye on this downside of this one. On the lower time frames, you guys can see that this is kind of what we had, bouncing back and forth. Again, we had a zone formed here, another zone formed here. I was actually looking at this upper zone today, not the lower one. I didn't get filled on it, and you guys can see it kind of bounced up, went lower, and kind of went sideways. So, yeah, a little bit more muted than some of the other pairs that were out there. Again, pulling it back to a 4-hour, you guys can see this is kind of what we got stuck in, right? We gapped down, came up, went down, came up, and went down, and we're basically where we ended on Friday. Not a whole lot of movement. I want to see some oomph get back into this one. Still holding on to see if we can get up to this 114. I would love it if we can get back up to the 114. I got a nice little setup up there, a little hidden zone. I think that'll be a great little trade, but we got quite a lot of room to run. It's only 64 pip ATR on this one, so we only did one half of it today because we only did 28. So, nothing great. Dollar CAD. I'm sorry, dollar Swiss. You can see dollar Swiss. It hasn't been down here for a while, right? Right, it hasn't been down here for a while on the daily. On the 4-hour, you can see kind of the same thing, right? We talked about this last week. This thing starting to roll over, and we saw it. There was a couple different pullbacks in it. On the hourly, kind of the same situation, right? You're seeing we test, but we just couldn't really get a clean entry to the downside. It just wouldn't give it to us. Even on the 30-minute, you guys can see it's kind of the same situation, right? We had a test here, no test here. You can see that black line, no test, no test, no test, no test. And here it's kind of, it's higher lows finally and kind of higher highs, but then it kind of messed it up. So consolidation more than anything else, riding this to the downside. And again, here's the daily chart. You guys can see Friday we ended inside of that daily zone, so we expected there to be some type of a buying movement up to the top side, and we got a little one, but rather muted, nothing big. Okay, dollar CAD. As you can see, dollar CAD, we had an area marked off up top. Again, it's a big spike up and then bam, big crash back down again on this one. And you can see this is what it looked like. Kind of went up, kind of went back down again. We had a zone up top here trying to get in. I'll just delete it because we're not even close to it at this point. Right? There we go. That's probably the best little look we're looking for right now, top and bottom. Again, we're not talking about way up here. We're talking about a little bit closer range here. We're only about 110 pips, so it needs a little bit more room to run on that. On the hourly, you can see same thing. Not really a whole lot of zones top and bottom, right? Not a whole lot top and bottom for this one. So CAD looks like it's going to stay in a boring state for right now. We're not going to really get a whole lot of entry off it. And you can see here, again, we kind of pushed deep into this zone and then kind of rallied out of it. But, at the same time, that's not necessarily the freshest zone. Actually, it started back here. So this is the 4th attempt that we're into right now. And it does, the way that it's forming the lower highs, it does look like it's going to fail. Okay, it does look like we're going to get a failure of this zone to go lower. So again, that's CAD. That's some CAD strength right there. A little bit of dollar weakness. And again, tomorrow morning, there could be any number of things that kind of send that in our direction. Probably, if anything, I would say it's probably going to have to do, like, if there's I don't know if you guys saw it. I guess coronavirus is now in Florida. We had 5 more people die in Washington, like in a nursing home. Feel bad for those people. Like, I don't know what's worse, being old in a nursing home or being stuck on a cruise ship at this point. Because, figure, if you're old in a nursing home, it's like the highest risk people there. The only people that die are the old people. And if you're in a nursing home, you're obviously old. It's kind of like, man, we're in a confined space. We can't leave. It's like, oh, feel bad for those people. At least on a cruise ship, you can like lock yourself in your room and, hopefully not, talk to anybody else. But in a nursing home, I don't know how that's possible. All right. So, dollar CAD, not too excited. Dollar Singapore, you guys can see we pushed all the way. This is the crazy one, right? We got front run, just barely pushed down, and now we're basing. Okay. You guys can see it on the 4-hour as well. See the level of basing here? No real trend, right? There was a gap. There's your 1-hour. Kind of the same idea, right? A lot of just sideways movement. Really not, really not a whole lot of just kind of anything, right? Here's your 30-minute. Nothing, right? Now, it is starting to get a little bit bigger, right? Starting to push higher, giving us some new highs. New lows, kind of lower highs, right? Kind of, but not too much there. All right, let's jump over to the fun ones. Double whammy with my nurse. Yeah, the nursing home thing is kind of like, ooh. Like, I feel like if I found out that somebody died of coronavirus in a nursing home where, like, my mother or grandmother was or something like that, I feel like I would go rescue them. Like, I feel like yeah, I would just, yeah, I feel like I would rescue them. I just feel like it'd be like, mm-mm, not good. Taking you out, guys. And when I say take you out, I don't mean like, take you, like, I'm not going to whack them. All right. So here is your oil report. All right. So oil, big day, right? Big day. We're back up to 40. I say big day, but we're back up to 48.02, right? 48 bucks. Okay. We were all the way down to $42 and this thing rallied back again. I couldn't believe we got to 42, but as I mentioned, I expected this thing to kind of turn and flip and hold right around 46 to 48. Here's what we had on the 4 hour today, guys. Again, you can see we had to gap down, and not only to go past, it kind of used, and this is interesting, right? Let me zoom on this one. So you guys will hear me mention sometimes that we have those violated zones. Obviously, we're marking off gaps. Well, there was the final candle of last week, right? And what did it do? It Harry Pottered us. I don't know if you guys saw this on the 4 hour, right? It Harry Pottered us. It went higher, it checked lower, and then went up, right? Completely gave us the Harry Potter just in the opposite direction. We normally talk about it going down. This Harry Potter to the top side. And again, I noticed that on the 4 hour today. Looking at that on the 1 hour, right? Here's what you had. And again, you can still do the same thing. And again, oil is a little bit harder to do it because like the volume actually dries up. But look at this. Here's the zone here, right? Interesting enough, here is where the zone was from Friday. They just happened to coincide, right? Happened to coincide. But check that out, right? I bet you guys didn't catch this one. Broke up. What did it do below? There's your triangle, guys, that you can put underneath. There's your black space. It went up, crossed over the top of the level, came down, and then boom, took off. So, don't know if any of you guys saw that today, but I was looking at that. I was like, huh. I was like, you don't see it too often over there. And that's what we had. Basically, you guys had a very quick pop, kind of left the area, came back and retested, and kind of took off. That was your really only entry today. And again, that was about 8 o'clock this morning. That was your long for the morning. So again, you could have ran this one back, but again, it was the retest. Really, this is really the only entry that I really saw today for me on this one. Okay, that was basically it. It's right there. Okay. So for CL, a little bit of a zone in right now. Right, you guys can see we do have a little area of basing. It wasn't really a huge explosion out of it, so I'm not kind of like we're going short. It's okay. This is a better zone here. I think this is a better level that I'd be looking for, right? Just the movement out of it was much more explosive to the downside. Here, I wouldn't quite call this explosive, and it kind of bases and then kind of goes and then kind of limps and then pops. Where this one, this big pop down here. Okay, so this is right at 50, and again, not a surprise, 50.03 to 50.55, right? So again, that little 50 pip zone right up there, I think is probably a better short area. Although I feel like if it gets to 50, people are like, that's it, go crazy. That's all I got for oil right now. It's going to be, that one's been more of a kind of an intraday type thing. All right. You guys see this guy? This is silver. Okay. Silver had some good plays today. I don't know if you guys can see it over here. I'll bring it up on the daily so we can kind of refresh give it some new data. So on the daily, you guys can see, again, last week, bam, all the way down. Didn't hit really the best area. It hit one, right? It hit this level of basing. It was okay. Not really the best, right? 4 hour, again, last week kind of crashed down, right? Not much there. On the 1 hour, here you go. It's kind of like, it based, it did its thing. It kind of went down, right? 30-minute was really to take this one. You guys can see the first one here, then it came back up and touched it again. Gave you a couple different entries on this one. And again, this entry came in at about 10:30 this morning. We had that one top, we pushed down. Again, we kind of broke some of these levels. Came back up, based again. And again, if you didn't like that first one, you could have taken the second base and then boom, push, 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 push. Kind of over, came up, and that was also going down again. So that was really where the silver trade was. I'd definitely be cautious at this level down here. If we continue to see kind of bearish sentiment in this one, the price continues to drop. This is probably an area where buyers are going to step in. As you can see, not only did it gap and start in that zone, and again, here, same thing, guys. Same thing. What have we been talking about? Gapping into zones. Okay. There is your 1 to 3 off the gap. Okay. There is your 1 to 3. Now, with that being said, you could have just taken it here, right? You could have taken it at the open, right? When price started to print, you could have taken it that way as well. Because again, if it breaks below this, you know this demand zone is broken. Why take all this additional risk, right? Wait for it to leave the zone and be like, yep, and take all that additional risk. You could have just taken it from the open, but like, yep, we open there. I'm gonna get long. I mean, maybe they put you in at here, right? Again, boom, boom, 1 to 5 on silver, good to go. Forms a new level, came up and retest and popped to the downside. So, I'm looking for something similar to this tomorrow. Again, I can't do it now because again, there'll be a lot of 30-minute candles in here from now till then. But once we get tomorrow morning about 8 o'clock, again, you guys can see this one. This zone formed at 8, it triggered at 10. That's the time to really start looking at this on kind of an intraday basis. Again, this one is not really, for me anyway, I've not found a good time frame, a good area of setups that I like for this one. I like this one more intraday when you're kind of in the trenches. Now, looking at gold, okay? Gold, you can see, rally up, boom, spike down into a level, and then we just kind of consolidating right now, right? This one I wouldn't say is super exciting. Again, pop up and kind of pull back again, kind of got flat on the 4 hour. 1 hour, you guys can see it kind of gets a little bit more boring. It's just kind of slowly up and slowly back down again. Not crazy. And here's the 30-minute. This one really didn't have a great entry for anything. You had this kind of bit down here, but for the most part, I'd say this gold was a bit more boring today than silver was. I think silver gave us a much better entry of things. Just my opinion on it. I just don't think that this one was as attractive. Going across, looking at NASDAQ. Okay, so NASDAQ on the daily. Okay. As you guys can see, big spike down. Look at this. 2 crazy days off. Biggest candle over there. NASDAQ, let's see, in one day, what, 684. Huge, right? Huge. Okay. Looking at your 4 hour, this is what we had. Okay. Now, this formed a level, and here, I'll put the backtest tool on. There's your level. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see it. There's green here. Okay, so you had kind of multiple options, right? You guys see where the green's going? It came up, and then came back, and then up, and then came back down, and gave you a third entry, and then continued to drive through. You guys see that? So there is multiple entries here on the 4 hour to be able to take this one, right? Here's what it looks like on the 1 hour. Now, again, it's from the lower zone. It came up, pulled back down, and you had multiple opportunities again. Now, here's where we started for the week, right? Kind of a similar situation. It's still pushing. Now, this one here, let me take the back test mode off. Okay, the zone that I just removed, obviously from back test mode, you're saying, well, wait a second, there was a zone there, right? Wait, where is it? Okay, you can say, was that good? Not bad. But again, this would be picking the top in a counter trend trade in a very, very small zone in a day that it is up, okay? With the zone right above it. You always want to take the higher one, right? When they're this close together. Okay, so that's where we're kind of approaching, right? This was the entry right here. Okay, this sideways movement up and then boom. Okay. Daughter's screaming. I don't know what's wrong with her. I think my wife's trying to get her to go to sleep and she's like, no. This was up. Obviously, we were up today, right? We opened here, we pushed up, we pulled back again. We pushed up again, and then bam, that was our kind of retest. It came back to grab orders. And again, big question is, did it grab orders, right? Somebody asked me, I actually got sent an email about this. Yeah, here's a basing level right here, right? Rally, base, rally. We kind of came across, we came back down, we grabbed orders, okay? And that's where we pushed off that level and then came back and retested right here. Okay, so that was your, again, small time frame. Okay, small time frame, you got to kind of focus during the day. Now, again, this one was a little bit smaller, right? And you wouldn't have gotten entered there. You would have had to enter it here as it pushed out and then came back down again. It marked off this as the zone, and you can see it kind of came up and then did the fast retest versus the hourly. You would have been good either way. So either one wouldn't have mattered. Again, this was obviously an update today. You got to look for pullbacks. You got the pullback. It wasn't hitting anything higher time frame that was a really great level. And again, that's why you go long and something like that. So again, we'll see what this one looks like tomorrow. I mean, looking on the 4 hour, it's kind of junky over here. There's no huge kind of moves. It's not up near the gap. So I think there's definitely some room to kind of mess around on this one to the top side. 30-minute, we are approaching a zone. If we had news and we were up here, I'd be looking a short, but we're not, again, overnight. We'll see how close we can get to that one. Now, this could be like if we rally up to the New York or the London Open, this could be a short at the London Open based off the 1 hour as well. So any of you guys that, I know there's only a few of you that are trying to do it, that's probably not a bad thing up here. And last but not least, let's go to the Dow. Okay, Dow, there's the magical chart. Look at that thing. So I'm actually going to bring this one up tomorrow for parabolic retracements. I mean, when you have one of the largest days down and then you stop and hold, and again, we continue to bounce off this thing. JTech, I don't know if you're out there tonight, but you asked me where this thing would hold, okay, on Thursday, right? You're like, hey, where's this thing going to stop? Where is it going to hold? And I told you that this is probably where it would hold. And you're like, wait a second, it's going to get smoked. It went all the way into here, and then it rallied at the end of the day like 1,000 points, right? Well, today it opened here, right? It opened here. And here, I'll just draw this one to, actually, you know what? I can just do it this way. Okay, I'll just draw that there so we get the lower time frames. I just want you to look at this on the lower time frames as well. Okay, so you had here, up, another entrance in, and then boom, up, and then all the way through. So you had multiple chances to get into this thing, right? Here's your zone. Look at this. Price came down, boom, boom. Probably not an entry here, but you've already had multiples here, and then up, one target, boom, second target. Now you're sitting in a zone. And look at it. On the 1 hour, it is hitting zones up top. So where we are now, you know, overnight, I would say I'd probably be looking probably more for a short. It's kind of going a little bit higher. It hasn't given us that lower high yet. You guys can see it here on the 30-minute as well, right? You can see it pushed here, pushed a little bit higher. Here's it's lower here, so there may be actually a short coming in right here. Okay, back down into this level. But again, there's the daily. Where's it going to hold? Probably right there. So pretty amazing, right? Pretty amazing. And that's what happens when you're able to read price and look for, you know, areas of buyers and sellers, right? Nice little turning, boom, and explosion off. That's what stops those things. That's why we look at the dailies just real quick. All right. But interesting enough, there's not a whole lot in here. But yeah, look at that. Big spike down, hold, and then boom, rally back off again. Huge moves. So I gotta love it. All right, guys, so that's all the pairs. So let's go. It's a little bit late. Let me check, actually. Let's look at Forex Factory real quick. Yeah, Aussie did exactly what it was supposed to do. I'll drag this over across for you guys. As you can see, Aussie, it cut exactly like they said it was going to be, so it came in as exactly as expected. And you'll see there's a little bit of movement here, 22, but that's what we were at before. So not really, you know, nothing that we wouldn't expect. There you go. There's that 30-minute. Look, you guys can see it popped up to that 30-minute window. Don't be surprised if it hits this and turns and breaks to the downside. What did it move before? This one just opened. So as you guys can see, this actually went down first. Moved 25 pips. 17 and then went up 30. Yeah, interesting enough. Look at that. Right. So price rallied up, and then the news came out and went boom. And up. So not too bad. I mean, it's smaller, and you guys are seeing it kind of, you know, have some problems right now. It came as expected. So again, there's going to be always that, you know, that move is like, oh my God, it's bad. But remember, I mean, and again, remember I said, guys, don't be surprised if this thing goes up. Right? Be like, wait a second, the cash rate went down. That's bad for the currency. That makes the currency weaker. Why the heck would it go up? Well, it would go up because everybody knows that it makes the cash rate weaker. So everybody tries to sell it because they see, oh God, they cut the rates. And that's what shoots it up in the air. You got to take money from all those people first. All right. But again, don't expect, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if this kind of turns and flips back down again. But the market had already priced it in. So this is just messing with people. And again, it's after hours, so there's not as many people to take money from. But is what it is. All right, Stream Elements, guys. We are a bit late tonight. I'll explain in a second. Go ahead and do your exclamation point ticket, guys, if you haven't already. And like I said, we went late. I try to go till 10. I don't know why the heck we're going so much later now. Maybe I'll start pulling some pairs out of here because it seems like we keep going later and later and later. But yeah. Anyway, obviously we're getting into lacrosse season, so it's starting to get a bit busy. Like I have practice tomorrow night. I don't have practice Thursday night, even though I should, but I have the county lacrosse meeting on Thursday night. So I am not going to be here Thursday, but Eva is going to take over for me and do analysis on Thursday. That also means, though, that Eva is going to bump the time forward. So instead of 9 p.m. Eastern time, it will be at 7 p.m. Eastern time is when she's going to do the broadcast. So make sure you guys are good to her. But I just wanted to bring that up so you guys can look forward to that for the week. KTS Eva will be back on. and she's pretty excited to get back in there and help out. So you guys will have her. So 900 pairs. Fundamental change. I'll wait for supply zone. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, but James, it was forecast forever ago. All right. So that being said, guys, I will give you guys 20 seconds more to get into this one, and I'm closing it down, and then I am heading to figure out why my baby is crying. She's probably like, "Where's Daddy?" Pisses my wife off to no end. Let me tell you. The baby knows I'm streaming, so the baby will literally not go to sleep until I'm off, and then she'll lay right down and sleep and go to bed. But like I said, makes the wife angry. All right, there we go. Hour and 40 minutes. Winner of the and remember, new rules. We draw 2 tickets. If you're the first winner, you get 25 pips. If you win twice, you get 100. All right. So first winner is Sean. Sean, let's see. Did Sean do it? Let's see. Where is Sean? Yes, he did. He bought his 2 tickets again. He took the extra risk. He doubled his probabilities, and he won. See how that works, guys? He took the extra risk and made sure he came out with the win. Now, again, this cost Sean 10 pip chips, and he made 25. And positive. Now, winner of the second one, let's see. Can Sean win the double one? Nice, anyone but Will. Oh, wait, no. Draw another winner, and the winner is Wes. Wes took number 2. So Wes kept Sean from getting those 100 pips, right? Number 2. All right, so I will give Sean his setting. Let's see, where is he at? He's closing in. Now, remember, I haven't equalized the points yet. Oops, not 35. God forbid I typed in 35. Ernest would never let me live that one down. I get all kinds of stuff on that one. Yeah. I still need to adjust those points, guys. Just been way too busy. I was at like 2 different doctors today. I had to take one kid, and then as I was there, the other kid got sick at school, so I had to go pick him up. It was just didn't have enough time to do it today, but I'm going to try to get that done for you guys this week. So with that being said, guys, I'm out of here. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Like I said, I will be around tomorrow night. It will be after lacrosse practice. Hopefully I have a voice, and we'll see. So far, I've been doing pretty good now. I'm up like 3,200 now. Will's like, I still got you, boy. All right, guys, have a good night. All the new people, thank you so much for following. I appreciate it. If you guys can jump over to the YouTube channel as well, you can click a little bit below. Love if you guys gave us a follow over there as well. We need to get over 100 so I can custom brand that channel. So you guys take care, and I'll catch you tomorrow.